Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Council Chats Live, where we're back for another week, and this week we are talking about Wonder Woman. So excited to get into this. I'm going to be your host, Ryan McKenna, and we're going to introduce the panel. So on the far left, we got Devon Taylor.
Hey, what's up? I'm finally back. I'm so happy to be back. I miss you guys. I feel like I don't see your guys' faces enough. I'm happy.
Oh, thank you.
And then in the middle, we've got Manning Franks. What's up?
Good morning, Vietnam, because it is morning over there right now. So I want to say hello, everybody, and welcome to the council. We're ready to talk Wonder Woman, and I am excited.
And last but certainly not least, we got our regular participant, Ty Rothermel.
Hi. He doesn't even get invited anymore. He just kind of shows up in the group chats. He's just like, hey, guys.
I'm free.
Yeah, like, what's up? So, everybody, we got a pretty packed show because we have, feelings about Wonder Woman. So, before we get to that, though, we wanted to talk a little bit, or some of us want to talk a little bit, about the Murder on the Orient Express trailer that dropped this week. I still haven't seen it, so I'm going to pass this off. So, Devon, why don't you kick us off? Your thoughts on the Murder on the Orient Express trailer?
So here's my thing. I don't care for this movie. I don't think a lot of people do. But the thing is with this trailer and this movie just kind of like perpetuates like a lot of like questions I have about what goes on in the film industry. Like I said, first of all, who asked for this movie? Not too many people. I haven't seen the original, but apparently the original is pretty decent as it is. And I know fans of the books are very excited for it. But I mean, literally, if I went up to somebody like on the streets right now and said, "Hey, did you see the trailer for Murder of the Orient Express?" They'd be like, "Well, what? What are you talking about?" So, I mean, that's just kind of one question I have. But I mean, I know there are fans out there. But this trailer, guys, this trailer is no bueno. It is not good. So just the whole tone of the trailer, I don't get it. Like, okay, so we have this narration over the trailer and it's too much. Like even the narration, I just like found myself getting bored on it. I was like, okay. And then of course there's what everybody wants to talk about is the Imagine Dragons song. It's just, don't get me wrong, guys. I like Imagine Dragons. I listen to their first album a lot. I love Night Visions.
Night Visions is
it's
great.
just, but like Imagine Dragons is kind of the like I have with their songs being used in trailers is the same problem that everybody has with Kanye songs being in trailers. Like it doesn't fit the tone. Like that, like this Imagine Dragons song does not fit the tone whatsoever. Everybody kind of liked the opening sequence of like this steady shot and then people's names are popping up in neon lights. Is that the theme of this movie? Because that doesn't make sense to me either. I don't know. Just I was left with more questions at the end of this trailer than I was like, I was just like, okay, let me check this out. I don't even watch a whole lot of trailers, to be honest with you. But it's just because trailers are made very poorly. I don't think they teased anything or really got anybody excited. And like I said, if you're not a fan already of the book or the remake, like you don't know what this movie is about after that trailer still, except somebody was murdered. I mean, I guess that is the main premise, but at the same time, you don't really get the tone and the intricacies of, the situation they're in. So it's just like, it's poorly cut. The song choice is bad. I don't think it's shot very well either. Like just the way the trailer looked kind of has me worried about the movie. I don't know. It wasn't really doing it for me. I didn't get that like crime drama thriller vibe that you should have got from this movie. I got some weird, oh, there's a bunch of people on a train cart together. Let's see what happens. So I don't know. It didn't really do it for me.
Okay, Manning.
I'm gonna echo off with what Devon said, but first I'm gonna counter a point. I was looking forward to this, and I'm excited to see it happen because I'm a huge Agatha Christie fan. I used to watch a lot of the Miss Marple mysteries, as well as the Hercule Poirot movies that came out during the time where Peter Ustinov, I believe, was the Hercule Poirot, and it was fantastic, super fun. Death on the Nile, Evil Under the Sun, I believe is what it was, but they were great movies. And Murder on the Orient Express as well was also really good. And so I was super excited for this remake because we don't get a lot of these period piece mysteries. We have all these, current thrillers out there and these more modern set movies, but we got to see something different. And as I was looking forward to this trailer, the pictures were great. Some of the screenshots we got, and then the opening shot of the train coming through the mountain, loved it. It looked very pretty. And then something was off. The movie itself looks very modern, and not like sure they're wearing timepiece appropriate clothes, but everything just feels as if it is made for how should I put this? More of a popcorn summer blockbuster type of flick here. And coupling that with the Imagine Dragons theme, and I love Night Visions. Night Visions is one of my favorite albums of all time, because there's a song, I love almost every song on there. And I'm also a fan of their newest song, I Like Believer. It does not fit into this whatsoever. It is like a whole different tone, and that in and of itself took me out of the single movie when everyone's like, did you do it? I don't know, did you? Oh my, who could have done this? It was so cheesy, which I can expect, and that's okay. But because the conflicting tones that we were presented with in the trailer and the song itself, who okayed this trailer? Do not put modern music in a period piece trailer. It does not work, okay? Give me some nice classical orchestra use. I don't want to have a music video in a trailer, except, sometimes it works. Hey, some of those great Suicide Squad trailers we got, fantastic. It's not everything has to be a music video trailer, okay? Let's cut back on those. End of rant.
Okay. Ty, did you like this trailer?
Absolutely not. I'm in the exact same boat as them. I'm with Manning. I hate it when specifically like period piece kind of movies use modern music, like King Arthur, my favorite movie of the year, as you know, uses Led Zeppelin in one of their trailers, and it's like, what are you doing? And so when Imagine Dragons popped up, I was like, okay, I'm not into this trailer, but it's not like pissing me off or anything. And then I heard it, and I was like, oh, no. And it just ruined it, and it made me feel bad for Daisy Ridley. I was like, oh, this movie's going to be bad. I can just tell now because of that choice of music. The choice of music is to try to get the younger generation interested, and it's just going to end up pushing them away, and that's all that they're trying to do at this point, in my opinion, with this trailer. That's what it says to me. And Manning, you brought up a great point. It looks very cheap. The way it's filmed, it doesn't look like it's conveying the kind of tone that it's supposed to have. It looks very modern, and it just doesn't work.
It's the neon lights. I'm telling you, the neon, the name things. Just I totally I agree. And it's like, at least choose like one of Imagine Dragons like spookier songs or something.
Yes.
Like, don't choose that one if you're gonna choose one of their songs. Like, make it something eerie, Like
that's like that's like something you see in Creed 2 or something. Like they're getting ready to pump up or something. This feels so out of place.
Huh. Well, there's a lot of thoughts on this, and I'm still not sure whether I should watch this trailer or not.
Do it live reaction.
Don't.
No. I'm kind of excited to see this movie. I'm a big fan of Kenneth Branagh, and I think that like this series is interesting, the book series and what have you. But yeah, so trailer sounds bad, which is I guess the way that's going to be. So I'll check it out. But let's move on and get into Wonder Woman, because that's what you're theoretically here for watching. So we're going to go around the horn and give like our non-spoiler sort of reaction to the movie. Then we're going to really dig into it because, it made over $100 million domestically this weekend, even more internationally. So I assume that most of you watching have already seen this movie. So we'll wave and tell you when spoilers are going to begin, and we'll wave when they end. But we're going to be digging into the movie quite in depth. So Devon, why don't we start with you? What did you think about Wonder Woman?
So I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. I really did. I mean, everybody knew that the fate of the DCEU essentially like rested on the shoulders of this movie. Like, I mean, because people have been, it's been shaky. Like, to put it lightly, it's been shaky. And this is also the first film that had Jeff Johns, in interaction on board with it, and that he was supposed to kind of be this big savior. So, like, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going into it. It's the first female-led superhero movie directed by a female director. I mean, there was just so much riding on this movie, and I was so pleasantly surprised. I mean, because I wouldn't say I was like not excited, but I just kind of was like, okay, let's see what happens. And man, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, I was one of those people that was kind of on the fence with Gal Gadot about her casting. Not, but I thought she had the look, but I didn't know about her acting prowess or anything. But then, you know, she's in BBS and is a lot of people's favorite part of that. And then, but this movie though is it's very they do the origin story very well. They don't spend too much time on the origin part, but then we really get to learn a lot about Wonder Woman as a character. And that's as a big comic book fan, I don't even know all that much about Wonder Woman. I felt like I got to learn a lot from her. Gal Gadot, I mean, really shines in this movie. I mean, she owns this role. But I mean, the emotions I got, I haven't, you know, I think that's a big thing with a lot of the DCEU movies. Like, I haven't felt anything from them. Like, I can watch them and be entertained by certain parts, but I've never actually felt something. That's something that, you know, Fox and Marvel has done. They've given you, you know, emotion in some of their movies. I think that's one of the bigger differences is like, I'm watching this movie and I'm seeing her do things. I feel triumphant. I feel hopeful. I mean, like, I felt like I just need to go out and do something, go help some people after I got out of the theater, because that's the emotion that was evoked in it. And Patty Jenkins did a great job. It's directed really well. I do have some issues with it, but my biggest takeaway from the movie itself is that I really enjoyed the movie, but I love the character. I love Wonder Woman. I love Diana Prince. I mean, the character, just like every time I see GIFs or something or pictures of her, I just get happy and excited. And Chris Pine is fantastic in this. He's at his most charming. And not only that, that's how you support a lead character. It's not like Steve Trevor was ever trying to take any spotlight away or anything like that. I mean, he is the true definition of a supporting character, but also in the context of the movie too, you know, being Wonder Woman's, you know, he's there as backup and he knows it, you know. So I thought that was an interesting thing. And compared to most of the DCU movies, the story of this actually makes sense. Like, for the most part, the plot makes sense. It's paced really well too. I think that's an issue that the DCU has had as well, is with their pacing. So I think they just corrected a lot of issues that the DCU has been having, on top of delivering a very entertaining movie. You know, giving us a character that we are ready to connect with. And I just can't wait to see anything that she's going to go into moving forward. And the music, the score of this is so fantastic. Oh man, I wish I would have got to see Hans Zimmer at Coachella. I bet the Wonder Woman theme was lit, because I love it. So I'll get more into my issues with the movie, I suppose, when we get to spoilers, other than this movie is really dark. And not when I say like dark and emotion wise, like, it's kind of hard to see at times in this movie. And that kind of bothered me a little bit. I don't know if that's just a me problem, but I felt like it was a lot at night, and it was just kind of hard to keep up with some of the action at times. But there's some casting issues that I had. Dr. Poison, absolutely hated her. But we'll get more into that with spoilers. So that's my initial thought, is I really did enjoy this film a lot more than I was expecting to.
All right, Manning.
Perhaps my expectations were incredibly low going into this movie, but I loved it. I went with my sister and cousin on opening day because, you know what, I've heard nothing but praise from this. That 90 up percentage on Rotten Tomatoes was glowing and gave hope in a universe that I'd almost abandoned, because I am not a fan of Man of Steel, BVS, or Suicide Squad. They are what they are. Won't take it away from people who like them, but they weren't for me. And I was almost giving up, and I wanted this to be the last beacon of hope, if you will. I loved it. I walked in expecting some mixed emotions, but I was enthralled with everything that happened. And Gal Gadot, hi, special. You're hearing right now how to say it. She said it herself, Gal Gadot. That's how you say it, guys. Let it in now. Gal Gadot. But anyway, she embodied Wonder Woman. My experience of Wonder Woman is, you know, Justice League comics, the Justice League TV cartoon series we had. That's how I knew Wonder Woman. And Susan Eisenberg, who played Wonder Woman, embodied her voice. But now that we have Gal Gadot here as Wonder Woman, I see her as Wonder Woman now, and she took away all my fears I had for BVS, and she replaced it with just simple joy. Now, when I see Wonder Woman, I have to see her now because she embodied everything that made Wonder Woman what she is. She is basically, she was what I wanted Superman to be, and this was something that I truly loved. And I cried at the very end. Add that to the list of all 3 superhero films that I've cried this year on. Make that 4. I cried in all 4 superhero movies. Count Lego Batman. I'm a big sobber, which we'll find out later.
Count Lego Batman.
I forgot about it. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, but it's the overall. I love this film. It does have its little problems. The third act, which we'll get into, is very much where a lot of the issues lie. But the emotion that carried me throughout the film made me forgive that, and I was just kind of cheering on the dynamic between Chris Pine, who, you know, actually, the most charming he's been in is Princess Diaries 2 Royal Engagement, Devon, get your facts straight. I'm kidding. Not really. But fantastic film. The relationship between Chris Pine and Gal Gadot is fantastic. Love the film.
Ty?
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Manning said. I love this movie. I didn't cry, unfortunately. I didn't get quite to that point. I only cried during Logan this year. I think the thing that really impresses me the most about Wonder Woman is that the DCEU has had this theme that it's, oh, hope. Everything's about hope. Superman's a symbol for hope. But they always just say it, and I really never felt like they showed it. And here, you really see that in Wonder Woman's actions. It's not always like, wow, look at how hopeful she's being. It's just the things she does just puts a smile on your face and gets you excited to get out of the theater and do something, even though you're not going to, because what I'm just going to drive around in my Dodge Neon trying to stop crime.
Ain't
happening. Yeah, I'll be Ben Affleck Batman. I'll just have a machine gun come out of the hood of my car, and I'll be a murderer. But it's Gal Gadot. She's really great in the movie. Patty Jenkins did a great thing by surrounding her with a terrific supporting cast to really elevate her acting abilities in this. And also, they all bounced really well off of her, and I thought that was something really impressive about the movie. In the way of negatives, I thought the slow motion was very heavy-handed. And a lot of the scenes, like, it was just, oh, slow motion shot, slow motion. I was like, okay, we can stop now. And also, Dr. Poison, I'm right there with Devon. Didn't need that. And there's one specific scene where there's literal cackling happening. And
Yes.
it just makes me go, oh, no. But other than that, I really love this movie.
Well, great. Just giving my quick thoughts. I have real mixed feelings about this movie. There's a movie in here that I love, and a chunk of movie that I absolutely despise. So I left the theater feeling kind of disappointed, but I still recognize that this is like a well-made and like solid effort in the superhero genre. But it's a movie that I think almost was amazing and then wasn't, which is why I felt really hurt by the movie more than anything else. But, you know, echoing a lot of thoughts, I think that, you know, the casting was great. The direction was great. Really, most of this movie is great. So I think that, you know, it's a solid effort for DC, and I'm glad that so many people have got on board with it. Before we jump into spoilers, though, I wanted to go around and ask the guys, like, I'm judging by their initial reactions, it sounds like they're all going to put this at number 1. But how would you rate the 4 DCEU movies that we have now? For me, it's Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Batman vs. Superman, and then Suicide Squad at the bottom. So Devon, why don't we kick off with you?
So this one is, it's easily number 1, head and shoulders above any of the other DCEU movies so far. Like, for sure, it was just such a breath of fresh air. Like, this movie is so refreshing. That's a big thing for it. Number 2, I would go BVS, but the ultimate cut.
Okay.
I know that's a stupid thing that we have to do in this day and age now is, distinguish like, oh no, I'm talking about that. But no, the extended cut actually did improve upon the theatrical release like a lot for me. And so I would put BVS, the Ultimate Cut, number 2. Man of Steel would be number 3. I've only seen it twice, but it at least has some really cool shots in it, and it has good moments in it, but overall kind of a boring movie. And Suicide Squad gets literally worse every time I watch it, every time I read an article about it, anytime I look at Suicide Squad, it gets worse. Like every time. Because I remember the first time I saw it, I didn't even hate it all that much. It was fine. But man, that movie is just So yeah, that's how I'd rank the 4.
Manning.
This is definitely number 1, obviously hands down. But it's kind of like I didn't like any of them. But I'm gonna have to go with Man of Steel because that to me is the most complete film, even though I wasn't a fan of most of the direction. I can see and I can appreciate that film as for what it is. This movie actually made me want to go back and actually watch all the DCEU again just to see where I stand on it now. But then probably Suicide Squad would be next because I had a lot of fun with it. It is a mess. The first half I thought was fun. Okay. The first act I thought was fine. We'll say that. And then it just kind of spiraled down until it was just a mess. And then finally BVS is my last. I have seen the Ultimate Edition. I just don't want to sit for 3.5 hours to watch it to change my mind. It's not an extended edition Lord of the Rings where I willingly want to do it. One day I'll watch it. But for what we got in the theaters for BVS, it is a editing mess, and that offends me to the highest degree as an aspiring editor. It's like, this is terrible. Oh my goodness, someone took scissors to this movie, literal scissors, and just chopped it up here and there for the theatrical cut, and that really why I didn't care for that. Some of the themes as well, but definitely Wonder Woman 1.
Ty.
Yeah, for me, it's number 1, Wonder Woman. Then right below it's Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel is a greatly misunderstood film. It is a really great look at Superman and seeing him become the Superman we know and love. And then in Batman vs. Superman, they just kind of disregarded his entire arc in Man of Steel. And they're like, no, he still doesn't know where his place is in the world. And so just their whole thing with Superman and Batman vs. Superman was awful. But BVS is still number 3. And then the bottom of the barrel, the bottom of the genre, you have the editing mess that is Suicide Squad. Jared Leto's overbaked and underbaked Joker simultaneously. It's just so bad. You don't want no beef. Like, I bring that up every time I talk about it. That part is just so fun. Yeah, hunka.
I still like his Joker. I like it.
I wanted to love it so much, and the first act, like Manning said, oh yeah, the first act's pretty good. No, it's just exposition. That's all it is.
It's entertaining.
So it's not. No,
I like
it's boring. I hate Suicide Squad. It's at the bottom. If anything ever beats Suicide Squad is the worst DCEU film or the worst comic book movie, reboot the universe and reboot the genre. Done. It's done. If anything's worse than Suicide Squad.
Okay, that's some strong feelings. So we're gonna jump into our spoiler discussion. So wave in the spoiler hands. And I'm gonna kick us off because I want to start off with something negative, so that way we can end on more positive things. And I want to start by talking about why I had a serious problem with this movie, and that was partway through the third act. They shift what the movie is about and totally ruin the interesting and underlying theme and confuse this movie with where it sits in the DC canon and just screw everything up. So the spoiler moment here is Wonder Woman kills Ludendorff, and at that point the war doesn't end, and she's really confused because she thinks he's Ares, and she's like, oh, I killed Ares, so the war should be over. And then Chris Pine is like, no, maybe people suck. I'm like, oh my God, this is a fascinating and like interesting moral quandary that Wonder Woman now has to deal with the facts that Ares, people suck, and people, and then, you know, they don't deserve her. They really don't. And that would have tied so nicely into where she is in Batman versus Superman, where she's like walked away from the world and only comes back because she sees Doomsday and she's like, oh shit, well, this is next level. I need to come back and, you know, do something. But no, that is not what they do. They decide to retcon World War I into being a plot of Ares, who, and then there's like the ridiculous CGI battle between the two of them, and like the stupid like, oh, you're actually Zeus's daughter, instead of like being, or like actually Zeus's daughter rather than being like an animation from Zeus, which is just like really, like, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then it's like, is there a second World War? Does Ares come back? Like, there are so many plot holes caused by the stupid ending that like didn't add anything to a movie that was great. And that is why I have a problem with Wonder Woman. Tell me why I'm wrong if you'd like. Get into it otherwise.
I won't say you're wrong, because that's kind of that's kind of a negative for me a little bit as well, just because so with this whole misdirection of, you know, who was Ares, who wasn't, so like I feel like it's gonna make me more mad on a rewatch that I didn't get it sooner, because so it's like, okay, they cast Danny Hudson as Ludendorff, who just notoriously looks like a villain. So they're like, yeah, this is Ares. Oh, look at him. He's so evil. He looks so evil. He's got to be Ares. And then it's like, okay, I'm going with it. But at the same time, like the whole movie, I knew he wasn't Ares. Yeah. Like I knew it wasn't going to be him. But so they do that.
Give it away.
No, it wasn't the cackle, but I just knew it. I knew the way the movie was going that it wasn't going to be him. And then, so with the misdirect, it was, you know, the other guy, the actor's name is David Thewlis. I can't remember what his character's name is, but then it's like, oh, it's him. And then it's like, okay, now I'm mad that I never caught that earlier in the movie. That's the least guy you'd expect. I mean, they pulled a Scooby-Doo on us, essentially. But then after that, so he's Ares now, but they keep his like normal face with his ridiculous mustache, and then I couldn't take Ares seriously. Because the whole movie, the way they're talking about Ares and they're hyping it up and stuff, it's like I liked this like unknowing, like, you know, intimidation of Ares, and then it's like I see that dude's ridiculous mustache through his helmet, and I'm no longer intimidated. So it's like, give him a different form after you, like, you know, make the reveal. I couldn't focus on it. But yeah, so I mean, I can kind of piggyback off what you're doing. But yeah, and then it just kind of retcons the whole thing, and then but I think it does. I still did enjoy the ending just because of like you know, we're gonna see where she is in BVS now, and like why she's that way in BVS versus the way she is in this. But yeah, no, so I'll agree with Ryan there. My biggest problem was, so I hope people aren't going to get too mad at me for this, because you got to understand the way that I'm putting it. Because I am so happy with what they did with the female empowerment and all that kind of stuff in this movie. I'm so happy they did it, and I think they did it in a very tasteful way. But it did get, there's a thing that they do about 6 times this movie, and it just gets a little bit too repetitive. And it's just the classic, okay, this is what's going down. Diana wants to do this. No, Diana, don't do this. Let's yell at her for 5 minutes before she does the thing that she's inevitably going to do, because she's a fucking demigod. So she's going to do it anyways, obviously. But it's just like they keep doing this to be like, look, she doesn't listen to any men. She's going to go do her thing. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, like I do understand the empowerment angle, and I'm glad they did. But that got a little bit repetitive. And then let's go back over to Dr. Poison. They had a scene where they are trying to empower a mad scientist, the whole scene where Chris Pine is fake flirting with her. And like, I'm like, are you guys literally trying to empower a female mad scientist right now that's trying to create a gas that's going to kill everybody? Like, it was so it's like, I get it. This is a female empowerment movie, but even the most evil, like, James Bond villain in this movie, you're going to empower her too. I don't know. I thought it was just kind of a weird choice. That whole scene was kind of weird to me. with the whole it's the fire, and people will tell you. And then there was another scene between her and Ludendorff, where Ludendorff is pretty much saying like, no, I know it has nothing to do with you being a woman. You're just the best physicist out there, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yes, I know. But so I don't know. But while I'm on Dr. Poison, why? Just why? Her voice, the things she's doing, the clay shit on her face, Phantom of the Opera ripoff. Like, I think she is literally a scrapped Bond villain that they found like in a crumpled up post-it note in a trash can. They went, yes, we need her in this movie to edge it up a bit. So that's a complaint, I suppose, but I'll say more spoiler things later. I'll let you guys say some stuff now.
I'll go and carry off on that. I can't rebuttal your points, Devon, because I remember that, but I don't remember feeling that way. But probably going back, I'll look back and like, okay, wow, yeah, he's right. Huh, interesting. So that'll probably come later as I see it again. But to your point, Ryan, the reason that you say it disrupts the canon, I don't care about the rest of the canon. That's probably why I was also like,
okay.
Cool.
I mean, I don't know. I like BVS, so
okay, that's
sue me. You know,
no,
whatever.
I don't want to sue you. You're a lawyer. You'll win. But I enjoy this movie for what it is. I see it as like a standalone film, and that in and of itself, the message that it was trying to portray, outside of the fact of like at the very end when Ares is dead, hey, German soldier, we're buddies now.
Oh my god.
That was that took me out of the film for a little bit. I'm like, really? Because we had this really cool thing, but that in and of itself didn't really, affect me too much because I was so locked into what just happened, and I was still kind of dry my eyes after the incident of Steve's death, which honestly, I thought they were going to do, but I didn't know they'd go for it. And the fact they did it,
I didn't think they would do it. I didn't think they were going to do it. I'm glad they did. Like it hit me. Like it really did hit me with the no noise. You don't know what he's saying until after he sacrifices himself. I thought that was a really, really cool touch. Although
I will defend his mustache. David his mustache. Thulis, thank you. His mustache. That is a terrifying mustache, sir. That is an intimidating mustache.
I can't be afraid of Professor Lupin, though.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. That's why he's an actor. He has to stay. Okay, well, he's playing the sin. Okay, you know what? Never mind. What he did, yeah, the fact they told us Ares was this terrible guy and this powerful god, but they really didn't show much that he could do, and I wanted them to show me and not tell me. That's the thing of show, don't tell. And I wasn't really afraid of him until he got out the actual armor, and I'm like, this is like from the comics, what? And I was so excited about it. But in the end, I still bought into that villain. Of course, in Dr. Poison, goodbye. Ludendorff, don't care about you. But I liked Ares for what he was. The villains in this specifically were not as strong as, I'll admit, even though I wasn't a fan of Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, I thought he was a stronger villain in the sense that he actually had a motivation. And Zod, who I genuinely like as a villain, I thought he was great. Those villains, I think, were better than these, who felt like almost like a Marvel film. The heroes were served more than the villains themselves, but I'm okay with that in a sense, so that didn't bother me really as much. But that's the only really complaints about the movie. And the slow motion, I'm not a fan of slow motion. And I'm not a fan of overuse of slow motion. Like 1 or 2 shots in there to really emphasize a beginning action, like when she's going into no man's land, she's standing up, she's walking, I'm like, yes, and then it keeps like every 5 seconds after that. And it got too much for me, but that's my piece.
To combat what Ryan said, and what Manning said, when the Germans are all like, hey, we're buddy now and all that, I took that as them going, oh my god, we survived whatever big thing just happened in front of us, like 2 gods, like just a bunch of explosions and tanks being thrown over. I feel like that was them just going, hey, we're okay. We didn't die today. That's how I read that scene. And also, I feel like they didn't communicate it as well as they should have, but I think it is that even without Ares, men are not inherently good and they're not inherently bad. They're flawed, right? And so I think like World War II is still a thing that still happens, and I feel like that came
Does
across.
Did it?
It does.
We don't know in the DCEU whether World War II happened.
You know what? There's probably something in like Suicide Squad or Batman versus Superman that's just a little reference to
Just
it or
a
whatever.
Hitler reference.
But it was in her like closing monologue that I forget it, so I couldn't quote it to you. But essentially, she was like, "Yeah, and you know, you can't always save the world because sometimes people they're just gonna be dickheads, and that's life." And then she jumps, and I thought Batman was gonna show up at that point, but he didn't.
Yeah,
That would have
that's
been a
it
little
too.
weird.
Yeah,
I really
that's,
thought Bruce was just gonna like just come in and be like, "Hey, I just talked to Amanda Waller about the guys that we already had files about." And
Did you get my email?
did you get my other email?
I'm actually glad with not as many DCEU tie-ins as I assumed they would be.
No,
But
so
he,
am I.
he sends her the photo via Wayne Enterprises courier.
Glad to know
I
that
mean,
exists.
They couldn't resist. I mean, come on.
No.
You know. And she
We
totally
briefly
works at the Louvre.
So we briefly mentioned it, but I mean we haven't talked about the most incredible moment in this movie, and in No Man's Land, and wow. I mean, I think we can all agree that scene just like, I mean, every time I think of it, I get chills and goosebumps, and but it's spoilers as to why I love this scene so much. Because you know, one, I mean, just the whole everything that it was. I made a tweet yesterday of some of my notes. I was like, "No Man's Land," as in she was literally willing to do what no man was willing to do. I mean, they even said it. We've been trying to make our way to this place for a year, and then she literally just stands up and you know. But it was so triumphant, just you know, losing the robe and her being in the costume. It was shot so pretty, but it was also kind of a callback to the beginning scene where, you know, all the Amazonians are getting killed and she's kind of just standing there, not really doing much. And then that's, you know, that was kind of the last straw for her. So this is her triumphant moment of saying, you know, I'm not going to stand by and watch things happen anymore. Like, I'm going to be the one that actually does something if nobody else is going to. And then, so that's like really what gets me. And I feel like that scene itself just kind of encapsulates the movie itself, I think.
Yeah, and actually kind of on that point, because I loved it. This film has like the best second act I've maybe ever seen. Like the second act of this movie is just incredible.
Mhm.
And I think that this movie gets, and it's kind of getting to the back to the female empowerment thing. I think this movie gets that notion in a way that, in a better way than a lot of movies that try to get it do.
Mhm.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love Lord of the Rings. Like, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is debatably my favorite movie of all time. But there's no arguing the cheese of the moment where Eowyn was like, "I am no man."
That.
It's so dumb.
I
It
love
is such
it.
a retarded moment.
I love
And it's just so unnecessary. And in here, Wonder Woman is like, she's, you know, she tells Steve later that what he says or what she does is not up to him. But like in this particular moment, he's like, "No, we have this mission," and she's like, "Well, that is what you're here to do. I'm gonna go save those people, bitch." And then she, you know, goes up into No Man's Land, and it's an amazing scene. But I think it's because it's prefaced by, well, no, I'm gonna save the world, because we recognize, like, we can see the character embody her power and, you know, own it. We don't need to be told that. And I think that this movie does that so consistently with her throughout this movie in like a really solid way. And I think that No Man's Land is one of those iconic scenes and is going to be for a long time because of how that was executed.
Yeah, I mean, just that scene, like, I mean, considering the fact that we're already putting it up there with some of these, you know, best scenes of all time. I mean, it's so great. It really is. Yeah, can't say enough about it.
Yeah, I will go on to say that this is a fantastic, other than the use of slow-mo, which personal preference, I was not a fan of. Taking it subjectively, it is a beautifully shot, beautifully executed, a wonderful, epic action scene that you could watch for like just that part on repeat because it was so much fun. But when they were saying, "No man has crossed that land," I was about to say, and I was just picturing her to turn to him and say, "I am no man." Okay, I love that scene. In the book, she says, "No living man am I." I'd rather have "I am no man" than "No living man am I." Come on, it's a cheese fest. Come on.
Yeah, it is. Tolkien wrote it cheesy too. I'm not saying that it wasn't cheesy in the original. Nor am I saying that it makes me hate that movie. I'm just saying that it is not a good moment.
And I will say it's a cheesy moment, but it's a great moment because I love those cheesy moments in Northerns because it makes me cheer. I love cheesy moments in some. Anyway, different time of conversation. But No Man's Land is an excellent, excellent action piece. That the first action piece was great, and first act was fantastic with the Amazons actually just wrecking shop everywhere, which was fantastic. And then the Ares battle was, but it was good. The emotion
was terrible.
It wasn't terrible. The emotion was there.
A little thing that I really liked about you brought up the Amazons and the Amazonians in that opening sequence and Wonder Woman itself. I really liked she has a really unique fighting style, which I find very interesting. I love all the aerials they do, but then they're also like doing stuff where they're like sliding across the ground to like kind of do these kind of things, and it's something we haven't seen from it really sets her apart. But then I also love seeing all the different skills. The lasso was used in really cool ways. I really love the scene where Steve like ties it around himself to like prove he's telling the truth. I thought that was really cool. So they use that in an interesting way as well. So I liked all the little details that they kind of really set her apart to be like, okay, look, this is the things that she can do and that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it was all the Amazon stuff I thought was really cool. Like I loved the bit where the one Amazon, I forget who it was, shoves like 3 arrows into the ground and she's just spinning around, just taking out dudes. And I love that bit. That was so cool. And that part was really awesome. And yeah, the lasso of truth, I really liked how it was used. When he wraps around his hand, he's like, yeah, we are gonna go do this. We're probably gonna die. I love that. That was so funny. And the humor, that was something from the trailers that did not work for me. Because the way the trailers would go, it'd be, oh, cool Amazon fight scene. You get the middle act fight scene, and then you get and then you get your little joke at the end, and then you get the Wonder Woman theme song, and just those last 2 bits combined really made me, going into this movie, I was like, oh, the humor is going to be so obnoxious. And hearing that song, I've just heard it too much thanks to the trailers. But the humor in the context of the movie works really well.
Very seamless.
It's very seamless. It all works within the context of whatever scene it is, especially the boat scene. I thought that was fantastic. But the second No Man's Land scene, my only problem with it was the Wonder Woman theme, because I liked it initially when I heard it in BVS, but ever since then I've just been like, it doesn't fit, doesn't work for me, and I really want them to change it. So that was the only part of that scene that doesn't work.
I'm so obsessed with that theme. It's so amazing.
You're wrong. It's lit.
Would you appreciate it if they did it with a different instrument, like something more akin to the times, but you have the same style itself? You're okay with that? Just a different instrument?
Probably.
Okay, there we go. Problem solved, guys. He doesn't hate it.
Do it on a cello.
That is the cello.
Not an electric cello. It's a mixture of like both.
It's probably electric strings. But.
Anyway.
Actually, I want to talk, since we were talking a little bit about the first act, I want to talk about like a concern that I had that was later unfounded. And I was talking to a couple people about this, and I think it's because Robin Wright doesn't know how to do stunts. But I was really afraid at the very beginning of the movie when she's doing like her sword fighting training, because the cuts in that were so obnoxiously bad and the sword fights were so bad. I was like, uh-oh, can Patty Jenkins not direct action? Because that's going to be real bad. But
it worried me too.
But then it was amazing later, and I was like, oh.
I thought they were all
so what
good.
is the deal?
Oh,
I thought
can Robin Wright not do her stunts?
That's probably it.
Yeah.
But my issue with Robin Wright was I thought there was a few subtle hints to her maybe somehow being tied to Ares and helping him. I thought there was a few subtle moments of like Ares would be mentioned, and I thought she had like a little bit of a smirk, or when what's her name? I can't remember Wonder Woman's real name for right now.
Diana.
Diana. What am I doing? But yeah, when she does her like little power thing at first, she gets this little smirk, and I thought it was like a little evil smirk, and so I kind of thought that was gonna play into it somehow. But I thought, yeah, it's probably just that she can't do action very well, and so that they had to cut around that.
Yeah. Another great moment that I think that we should talk about is the town sequence, like in between it, like kind of at the end of Act 2 and you go leading into Act 3, where they like have a little song and they like dance and there's like snow falling. Like that was just a beautiful scene.
That was. I love that.
Mm-hmm. No, it was very good, and I mean we've said it a couple times, with this, showing not telling, and like this movie never like told you how to feel. I mean it was just it was shown, and then just it was such a natural emotion, especially like you said that the scene in the town, because there's another movie I'm thinking of where there's kind of a similar scene where they're having a good time in this town. It's like, oh yeah, everything's great, and I can't think of what movie it is, but in this one you really did feel the genuine like sincerity from this town, from her helping and that kind of stuff. I thought it was really done very well. Yeah, it was a great scene.
Very good scene.
For sure. Should we go around and give our closing thoughts on Wonder Woman?
Let's do it.
So Devon, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, closing thoughts. Like I said, I really enjoyed the movie, despite some of the problems and some of the nitpicks movie may have. But and I don't see myself like rewatching it a ton, or at least not until it comes out on DVD and stuff, because I think the beginning is a tad slow as well. But that aside, the movie is just worth it alone for the character of Diana Prince / Wonder Woman. Like I think she has just given us something that we have so much to look forward to, even if certain aspects of Justice League aren't going to work. Maybe at least we know, like, okay, we've seen what we have, the sample dose that we had in BVS of Wonder Woman, which people loved, and then now seeing her in her full-fledged movie, and we can definitely say like she is easily one of the strongest characters of this franchise going forward. And I just think her dynamic is just going to be real interesting with Batman, with her views of humanity versus his, and Superman's. Really, the dynamic between the trilogy, between the Trinity, is going to be real interesting. So, I mean, if this movie's going to do anything, is it going to restore? I think it will restore some faith that people are going to have in the DCEU going forward, and maybe not, be as worried and skeptical and asking so many questions. But it's just a great. You feel good watching this. Like this is a feel good superhero movie, and I don't think those really exist. Because I mean, I felt so good watching. I felt empowered. I felt very triumphant, and I think Patty Jenkins did such a phenomenal job. And hopefully, this is going to lead to more female-led superhero films, more superhero films directed by females as well. I think this was very historic. I don't think people are underestimating, how historic or how much of an impact this movie is gonna make on, the impact of superhero movies going forward. So, go see this movie, guys. Like, I mean, it's so good. Like, I'm so glad that I loved it as much as I did.
Yeah, especially on the impact it's going to have on the younger generation. When I was in my theater, there was this little girl dressed as Wonder Woman, eating popcorn, super excited to watch this movie, and I was happy seeing that. She had to leave because the Ares fight got a bit too intense for her for a little bit, but she came back, and just seeing her smile and react to that made me very happy to see this movie and to see exactly what this cultural phenomenon of this character, this resurgence, if you will, of Wonder Woman, and made me really appreciate that. But this is a really, really really good movie. Someone who had really low expectations going in. I was pleasantly surprised, and this has single-handedly restored my faith in what the DCEU can be. As someone who loves DC comics, yes, I love the New 52. Sue me. But this is a fantastic movie with themes presented coherently into a movie that just makes you want to cheer, that makes you want to go out and save the world in any way you can. Because, I can save today, as what Steve said. But what did Diana say in response? Now I can't even remember. Now there was my thunder.
He said, "I can save today,
Yeah,
but you
I
can
save
save
today.
the world."
The world. There we go. That's it. That's it. I like that line in itself.
So do I.
So I would say go out, save the world, or save today, whichever. It's a great movie. Go see it.
Yeah, for me, I really loved it. I thought the acting was all really good. It was really well directed, well choreographed.
Mhm.
I had a few issues with the music. I know I'm in the minority there. The slow-mo was a bit heavy-handed, and some of the villain stuff didn't work for me. Specifically, one cackling scene just doesn't work at all. It's from a different movie, from a different era. But overall, really great time at the movies, and like Devon said, it's a historic movie. It's a historic moment in cinema right now because it's the first female-directed movie to break 100 million at the box office, which is incredible. So, guys, if you haven't seen it already and you listen to all our spoiler talk, what are you doing with your life? But still, go see the movie. It's really great.
Yeah, I think that we can give a thumbs up to the movie overall from the entire council. I still liked the movie, even though I had problems with the ending, but definitely one to go check out if you haven't seen it already. So that's going to conclude our talk about Wonder Woman, and we talked for a long time about Wonder Woman. So we're going to we're going to skip over our first-time watches because we have a really cool game that we're going to talk about and go through. So, Devon, do you want to introduce the game?
Yeah, I'll introduce the game. So on my podcast, is Take the Rule. We play many different games and stuff, and we did.
Go listen to it, guys. It's good.
Yeah, go listen to it. But we did one. We did a Pixar animated movie episode, and we gave out the animation award. The animation Oscars is what we did, and we were doing the main 8 categories of the Oscars for animated movies. So we are going to do the same thing for these comic book movies. And this is not limited to superhero movies. We'll just say comic book movies in general. But I have the main awards pulled up. So we'll just kind of go through them, and each person can kind of give their shout out to what they think would take this award as far as, comic book movies go. So to start off, we'll start off with one of the lower ones. So best cinematography. So when you think of best cinematography in a comic book movie, what do you think of? I guess I can go ahead and go first, so that way you guys can think a minute. This is a very recent one, and it might be a little bit too early, but Guardians 2 is such a I love the visuals in it, everything, the colors, just the look of everything. James Gunn, the way he's put this universe together of Guardians, and then the way he films it in this very cinematic space opera fashion, especially Guardians 2. It's just like this movie, I can just sit there and stare at. I could watch that movie on mute, and as funny as the dialogue in it is and everything, because it's impressive to watch. I think the camera work in the action scenes is done very well too. So that would be my nomination, would be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
All right, I'll go. Do I go next?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. This is a good one. But I know probably someone else is going to pick this, so I'm going to go for my second pick, which I think is criminally underrated in its cinematography, and that is Spider-Man 2. It is a very, very well shot movie. It doesn't beat my very first one, but this one I think is overlooked in some criminal areas. I mean, especially if you look at how it shoots Spider-Man in the New York City and how it characterizes New York. It's very simple, but it's very effective, and I don't think it gets enough love because it's very well done shot-wise for cinematography specifically.
And Ty?
I'll go Wonder Woman, actually. I think the way the film looks, it's just every shot is gorgeous, even how foggy and gross London looks in this movie. Still, all the shots, they convey the emotion that they're supposed to. It's all very well done. I visually, I was just taken away by this movie. So I'll go Wonder Woman.
You're testing me here. I think there are 4 in my head.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think I'm gonna go with Man of Steel. Because I think that of the 4 that I have in my head, it just it has an artistry to the way it's shot that I think really contributed to why I think of the strengths of that movie and why I think that movie is a movie that is almost great but has one sort of massive problem. But yeah, so I think the cinematography really enhanced that movie. So I'm going to go with that.
All
what
right.
was this one that you were going to pick?
Yeah, man. Wait, yeah. What was your other one?
I was gonna pick The Dark Knight because that was one
of my 4. I was fighting with it.
Okay.
But
That was in my options as well. But
honorable mention. Dark Knight.
Honorable mention. Moving forward, so I'm going to jump into best screenplay. I mean, most of these will be original screenplays, so we're not going to worry about original versus adapted. So the best script that you think in a movie. And I guess I'll start off, and because we've already been talking about this movie, the Dark Knight, as much as I still don't love it as much as other people do, I respect this movie highly just because of the production level put to it, and just how intricate it is writing for the Joker. You know, this man without a plan when he does have a plan, but whatever. But just juggling the storylines that they did, I think, even though they were just a little bit too heavy-handed on Harvey Dent, but just everything that they did between Batman and the Joker, the interrogation scene is just one of the best written scenes I think of. Not even just comic book movies, of any movie. It's such a fantastic scene. The quote that's very quotable. There's so many famous lines from this movie as well. I think the script of it is just fantastic. I think they did a really good job writing this very complex movie.
Come back to me. I'm really conflicted right now. Come back to me.
Yeah. Ty, you got one?
Are we allowed to say the same ones, or do we have to pick different ones?
I mean, if you believe it, go for it.
I'll echo your sentiments on The Dark Knight. I agree 100%. Just looking at the interrogation scene alone and how well written the dialogue between Commissioner Gordon and Joker is, and then between Batman and Joker, it's so good, and you just get so invested into it just through the dialogue. So yeah, I'll give it to The Dark Knight.
Okay. So again, there's a few, but just because I know that I'm not going to be able to give this credit in any other category, I'm going to give this to The Incredibles, which I guess is not a comic book movie, but it's a superhero movie. So I am qualifying it because The Incredibles deserves some credit.
The Academy will allow it
for being amazing. So The Incredibles for best screenplay, because I think that it is a really cleverly written film that works on thousands of levels, and it's wonderful.
Okay, those are excellent choices, and I can't argue those whatsoever because they're amazing, especially when 2 of them are the same. But I'm gonna have to go with, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but The Avengers.
Why are you going to get hate for that?
Because there's been a backlash recently, especially with Avengers. But you know what? I love Avengers. The way that Josh Whedon actually managed to, outside of Hawkeye, because Hawkeye got short end of the stick in that movie, he managed to take these characters for the first time and wrap them all together into this one movie where actually you were on the edge of your seat, you were invested in these people. He managed to introduce a whole new character with Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, and managed to give them each not intricate, but at least give them a plot to have you invested to each character. And seeing that for the first time on the screen, I felt was very well done, and he balanced that really well.
All right, some solid choices there. I don't really like the Avengers. That's all I'll say. But that is a whole nother podcast episode. So next up, we got Best Supporting Actress in a comic book movie. And I got one this is from one of my favorite comic book movies ever, and I don't think anybody will mention it. But my pick is Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns. I think, oh, Ty, get out of here. I think Michelle Pfeiffer brings something really interesting to his character. This is a character that initially not a lot of people knew too much about outside of comic book fans. I mean, it's kind of a ridiculous character when you think about it. This lady dressing up in leather like a cat with a whip and stuff. But, you know, the things that she stood for in that movie, but, you know, throwing in this wrench, I think they really captured the complicated relationship between Keaton, or between Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne, between their characters, and Michelle Pfeiffer just is in her zone in that movie. I think she is absolutely fantastic. Probably my favorite part of that movie, honestly. I think her Catwoman is fantastic, way better than Anne Hathaway's.
I agree there. I definitely have one for this now, and it's actually Rosemary Harris as Aunt May. I love her in that movie. Specifically, maybe just all the entire Spider-Man franchise. For that one specifically, well, okay, 1 and 2, we'll say that. But she embodies Aunt May to me. She's exactly what I do when I read the comics. That's who I see. And Spider-Man, for better or for worse, managed to get that a lot right with a lot of supporting cast. And I absolutely love what she brought to the sweet, gentle, a little bit of feisty too, and she brought that. I love that.
Okay.
The only thing Batman Returns should ever be nominated for is a Razzie, unless it's getting nominated for Best Line, which is when Catwoman says, "Oh, fish, I'm hungry," and then Batman says, "Eat floor," proceeds to kick Catwoman high fiber. That is great. Other than that, I have that on a shirt. Ryan has seen it. It's real. I have Eat Floor high fiber on a shirt. It is amazing. But getting back on track, I would nominate Daphne Keane in Logan. Her performance in that was so... It was like, for a breakout performance, incredible. Like, she had me sold from beginning to end of the movie. And when she was crying at the end, I was crying at the end. Like, it just hits you hard, that performance. And I love how she was able to communicate what she was feeling without having to say anything. She did it through her facial expressions. It was really well done. So yeah, it goes to Daphne Keane.
Okay. I'm actually having a lot of trouble with this category, but I think that there are two that sort of bubbled up to the top for me. And I think I'm going to go with Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I think that she does a really good job supporting that plot line. And I think that, you know, her work as a whole kind of is what is winning her this award for me. But I think that she does a really good job in that movie in particular, which is why I'm going to give that to her there.
Okay, cool. So we got another nice spray of awards. I almost went Daphne Keane for mine as well, because she was so good. So good. So next up, we got Best Supporting Actor. I hope we don't all have the same choice here. So I definitely picked something. I hope we do
have the same choice.
Yeah.
Well, I picked something. I picked one different than the obvious answer, because I mean, somebody actually has won an Oscar for that role. But I'm not going there, actually. I'm going to go Michael Fassbender in X-Men First Class.
That's a good one.
I think Fassbender brought so much emotion, complexity to Magneto. I mean, it was hard enough as it is for those two to have to follow, you know, Sir Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen. I mean, they already had that pressure on, but then they both did something interesting. But I mean, Michael Fassbender in that movie, though, I mean, just the anger, the rage, but then his tender moments as well. And you see from his performances where I really understand the complex friendship between Charles Xavier and Magneto. Because, like, when you think about it, Magneto's not wrong most of the time. He also has his reasons, but you believe all this. I mean, and it's Michael Fassbender really took a hold of that role and made it his own. But especially in First Class, when we're seeing all the different stuff that he's trying to do in that movie, fantastic.
The bar scene is phenomenal. We gotta say that.
Yeah, that's very good. For me, I'm debating between two, but I'm probably gonna go with one, because this is the last mention on here of Spider-Man 2, but it's J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. I love this, outside of, course, the obvious, which is Heath Ledger. But J.K. Simmons to me always makes me laugh and smile before Whiplash, which now he terrifies me. But this in and of itself is the embodiment of J. Jonah Jameson. You read the comics, you have that voice of Parker, get in here. So it's very great, and I love what he does. Very, very comical and very fun cartoon character in a movie that otherwise feels grounded.
Okay. Ty?
So we are qualifying Heath Ledger as supporting actor then?
I would say so.
Okay, then since he's won the real Oscar, I'm not going to nominate him or suggest him because that's just obvious. I'm gonna, because I want to say something different. I want to say something unique. Colin Firth as Harry in Kingsman. I think he is so great and so endearing in that movie. I love that performance. It makes me happy every time I watch it, and I can't wait to see what he brings to the Golden Circle. So, yeah, go with Colin Firth.
Well, fascinating. You've left me the obvious choice. The only right answer to this question is Heath Ledger's Joker, which is, it's one of the best performances I've seen. Like, screw comic book movies. Like, it's just, like, it is so incredible what Heath Ledger does in that movie. And, like, he really has no equal in this genre. And, yeah, so his, like... Yeah, it's Heath Ledger's Joker.
I mean, it is hard to argue. Somebody else take over then.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the next category up is lead actress. I would think. So Manning, why don't you kick it off? Lead actress.
Thank you, Ryan, because I thought about that a lot. Jeez, this is interesting because when you look back and thinking, there are not many lead actress super in comic book films, and that's kind of sad in a way. But what I'm going to do is actually go for The Incredibles that you mentioned, which would actually be it's Holly Hunter, right, who plays Elastigirl. I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Holly Hunter as Elastigirl, she's fantastic. From a simple vocal performance, the voice cast in that is amazing in itself. If we had casted somebody after them, but they are really good. And she specifically, I would say, really brought some maternalness to a superhero who feels like she's like, on the ropes or doesn't really feel like want to be a superhero anymore. And I really enjoyed what she brought that for vocal performance-wise.
Legit.
Yeah, there's really not a lot to go from. Like, I was thinking Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique, but she kind of just walked through those movies, especially in Apocalypse. She was just like mutant and proud. But so she's out, not happening. So I'm gonna go Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman. I do think she was genuinely really good. I don't think she's quite as good as some people have been like trying to claim. They're like, the best thing since sliced bread. She's not quite that good, guys. But I was really impressed by her. She made me go, oh wow, she can act a lot, act really well. Aside from some wooden dialogue here and there, but by default, I'm just going with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Cool. So I'm going to take the lead actress in my second favorite comic book film of all time, and that is Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta. She is phenomenal in this movie, as Natalie Portman tends to be, and just the way that she played this character and like really fit into the vision of the film was great, and I really think that like it's a great performance, and I think that she deserves to be the best actress in a comic book movie. Is Devon back with us? With the mic?
No, he's not.
No.
Type your option, and I'll read it for you.
Wait, guys.
Sign language.
I definitely thought you were gonna say Natalie Portman and Thor for a second. I was like, oh, wait, what? Really?
She's good in that movie, but no.
Well, you talk about. I would nominate Kat Dennings. She was so good in that movie.
Best part, 10 out of 10. Give me all day. Give me.
Okay, well, let's move on to lead actor. Just to kind of
Devon will get to
push it forward here. And this is actually an impossible category because there's like 1,000 great actor performances. But there are two that are so embody the character. But I'm gonna go with Robert Downey Jr. I'm gonna say the first Iron Man, although I kind of want to say Civil War, but I'm gonna say in Iron Man, because I think he brought that character to life in a really meaningful way, and there's a reason why we love Iron Man on the big screen like we do, and it's because of the work that Robert Downey Jr. did in that movie.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
I'm gonna go with one. While this isn't my favorite film by any means, I had problems with it. The one thing that stood out from this particular film was Hugh Jackman as Logan. In Logan, because that was a tour de force of acting. Because Hugh Jackman has carried the weight of this character since X-Men in 2000. It's crazy the way he's been able to do this for 17 years. I loved it. What he did was amazing. It emotional, made me cry, made me feel for a character that I otherwise was kind of indifferent toward from the beginning of my comic book year, and I love everything he did with that character.
What about now?
Oh, you're
back.
Hey, there we go. My best actress choice was Gal Gadot because, you know, like we said, there's sadly not a whole lot to choose from.
No.
But no, she really did kind of say F you to everybody that didn't think that she could act and couldn't pull off this performance. But it not only just because she's one of the only actors, she really did turn in a really good performance. And then I said Hit Girl's almost a lead, but she's still a supporting actress, I'd say. But I'd say shout out Hit Girl in the first Kick-Ass. But my best actor, I'm gonna go ahead and echo Manning. It's Hugh Jackman and Logan. I mean, I felt tired after that movie, because of the exhaustion that because you really did feel that of this man that's been carrying all these emotions, the way of this world. He's been alive for a couple hundred years, and he's been through so much. I mean, it really culminated in this movie. Hugh Jackman had the perfect swan song to go out on, but I mean, it's just everything he does. I mean, his relationship with Professor X, and then his relationship with Laura. I mean, but just his inner struggle, and you really felt that in this movie. I mean, he's always been great as Wolverine, but I mean, he really did step it up four more levels in Logan. He was fantastic. I really do hope he does get some award consideration. I know he won't. Maybe even if it's just a Golden Globe nom, I'll be happy.
I'm stuck between 4 right now, but I don't want to say Hubert Jackman just because you guys have. So
can I shout out Michael Cera from Scott Pilgrim too?
Yes, you can absolutely.
Do it.
I'm being serious.
So I'm stuck between Chris Evans as Captain America. No, as the Human Torch, actually. As Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, or Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne. I'm gonna go Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne. That performance is oddly enough underrated for how beloved those movies are. I feel like when people talk about those movies, they don't give Christian Bale enough credit. I think he's really great as specifically Bruce Wayne. He also does Batman really well. But the thing that really got me with those movies was how much focus was put onto Bruce Wayne, and I think he carried that really well throughout all 3 movies.
All right. Well, that does it, guys. Oh, well, duh. The biggest one, of course. Almost forgot.
Well,
the most important one,
technically, right?
Oh yeah, I did.
Just one.
Oh yeah, we can do the 2. I was just gonna go into Best Picture, but yeah, we can do Best Director as well. Let's do Best Director first. I actually need a minute, so somebody else go. But Best Director.
Christopher Nolan for The Dark Knight. That movie, just masterclass directing. They're absolutely nothing. It's flawless. It's so good. Every scene, every shot of it, how he directed all of the actors, especially Heath Ledger. It all works. And again, I'll bring up the interrogation scene. That is probably my favorite scene in any movie ever. And Heath Ledger as the Joker is my favorite performance of all time. So yeah, I gotta give it to Christopher Nolan, because without him, none of that would have we wouldn't have that today.
And I'm going to jump in right now and completely agree with everything that Ty just said. Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, like his work on that film is stellar in the director's chair. He is the greatest director to ever direct a comic book film, and gratefully he directed 3 very good comic book films. But The Dark Knight is his magnum opus. So Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight for Best Director.
Christopher Nolan, The Dark Knight, because that movie is so good. I love it. It's my second favorite comic movie of all time. It is, as you said, a masterclass in directing. He knew exactly what he wanted behind the camera, and he delivered. He gave us a fantastic movie, even with the jumping IMAX ratios sometimes that I notice on a rewatch. But, it's a fantastic film, and I think he deserves it all the way. Let's give it to him.
I'm not gonna go Christopher Nolan. Though if I was going to, I would actually go Batman Begins. I like Batman Begins more than The Dark Knight. So if I was going to say Christopher Nolan, I would have done Batman Begins. But I mentioned it just a second ago, but I'm actually going to pick Edgar Wright for Scott Pilgrim. I think like that movie, it's between the editing and the script and the visuals, between all the things that he was juggling in that movie, for it to be as tight as it is, it's just a very tightly directed movie. The action scenes are done really well, especially for these actors that aren't really known for doing action, even though, a lot of doubles were in this movie. But between the editing, because the editing is like near perfect, I don't know if you might know a little bit more than me, but I think the things that they do, his use of, the background in the movie as well, with like the different clues and nods of the head and stuff. I think Edgar Wright directs the hell out of that movie.
I'm actually going to change one of my votes now that you mentioned that. I thought of someone else. Actually, the Russo brothers for The Winter Soldier. They actually provided something completely different, although Nolan's the best, I'm not going to lie that. But if I had runner-up, it'd be the Russo brothers as The Winter Soldier, just so we can throw some other names out there, because they did really great what they did for The Winter Soldier specifically.
All right. And then now to the Big Daddy. It is Best Picture for comic book movies. I'm not ready on this one either, so somebody else go. Or is it just going to be The Dark Knight, or are we just going to say The Dark Knight?
I am going to say The Dark Knight. I just, that film is one of my favorites of all time, bar none. It's so incredibly well done in every way. I know a lot of people bemoan things in that movie because it's so great. But honestly, I have trouble really getting on board with every time I hear a criticism of The Dark Knight. I'm like, are you sure? I don't actually think you feel that way. I think you feel that way, but you don't really feel that way. Because The Dark Knight is amazing, and it just it changed the game in so many ways. And I don't think that I have trouble believing that we're ever going to see a comic book movie as good as The Dark Knight. So that's why I got to give it to that.
Similar to our Oscars as of late, I'm going to split a picture and director. And I mentioned my Dark Knight is my second favorite film, superhero comic book film of all time. But my favorite comic book film of all time is The Avengers. When I think of a comic book film, that is the film that I gravitate toward the most, because that reignited a love of comics and complete that culture for me personally, and it rejuvenized, for better or for worse, some might say, an entire genre of movies, and that I think of itself, The Avengers, is the quintessential popcorn blockbuster superhero film that we deserve and we need.
For me, it's gonna be David Ayer's Suicide Squad. That is a masterclass movie. Just scenes like the nightclub where Joker just simply says, he says it best, no one could ever do it better. You don't want no beef. Yeah, nothing better, guys. No, it's The Dark Knight, obviously, for everything they've listed and everything that I've listed previously. It's The Dark Knight, no questions asked.
Are you sure? Are you positive?
I
No,
think
it's
those were
just-
questions just asked. I'm gonna go away from the Dark Knight. Though I don't get me wrong, I do like the Dark Knight. I do. Just I don't love it. So Ryan, to what you said about people saying, "Are you sure?" Oh, I'm sure. You can ask me any. But anyways, I rewatched this movie. I rewatched it not too long ago, and it really astounded me, like how much I hadn't seen it in a couple of years, and then I was like, but it's always been one of my favorites, and it holds up incredibly well. And that is X2. I think X2 is a phenomenal film, and I didn't really realize it until I think this was like maybe the first time I had watched it, like, you know, post cinephile, I guess. But I watched this movie. One, it feels the most X-Men out of any X-Men movie. Like, I mean, but it has one of the time. It has one of the best opening scenes of a comic book movie ever with Nightcrawler's assault on the White House. Yeah. So, I mean, from the get-go, you're there. We get a lot of, this is where, you know, people realize that Wolverine is going to be the star of this franchise, where we get, you know, some of his origins and his backstory. You have a phenomenal villain in William Stryker, who I think people kind of forget about when they think about their favorite villains in comic book movies. But all the stuff going on, all the stuff at Alkali Lake going on, Wolverine just kicking ass in the mansion is amazing. But you get so many different things in this movie, you know, as far as, you know, really raising the questions about dividing humanity. And that's where you really get this, you know, the civil rights, like, you know, feels that X-Men is supposed to emulate. You really start getting that in X2. And then even if they didn't, you know, come to fruition, they were planting seeds for the Phoenix. And I think the Phoenix stuff that they do in X2, the kind of small stuff they do with Jean Grey, is really good. I think that's Famke Janssen's best performance as Jean Grey in X2, I think. So X2 from start to finish. And then, like I said, just rewatching it and how well it holds up from 2002, I believe, is incredible to me. Fantastic. I love that movie. 2003. So 14-year-old movie that holds up incredibly well. So I love it.
Well, boom, guys. Those are our comic book movie Oscars. So you can see there we had some differences of opinion. But, you know, some movies bubbled to the top. Some movies, you know, didn't make an appearance, a.k.a. David Ayer's Suicide Squad.
Who won Best Picture? What are you talking about?
But that's going to be it for us today, guys. We've had quite a show. So I just want to go around the table and get plugs from everybody. So Devon, let's start with you. Where can we find you?
Of course, you guys can find me on Twitter at Jesus12. Make sure you follow me there. But of course, listen to my podcast, Jesus Take the Real. It's a late night talk show centered around movies. We play games, we tell stories, and, you know, talk about movies and stuff. So definitely check out Jesus Take the Real. It's a whole lot of fun.
Manning?
Yeah, definitely check out Jesus Take the Real. It is a lot of fun. I can attest to that. But also check out Geek Pulse Radio from geeksandgamers.com. I was the audio engineer for that one. It is a very, very fun show to edit, and I really hope you guys will check it out because it's very entertaining. If you want something concise in the entire, just a plethora of geek things to talk about, be it from comic books, be it from movies to video games, it's all right there. And find me at like_Peyton on Twitter, and check out my Facebook company, Cameraman Video Productions, if you need something edited or videography. Yeah.
Okay.
You can follow me on Twitter at Nerdy Casual. Find me writing articles at geeksgamers.com. And I will echo Devon's. Check out Jesus Take the Real, especially this week, since I'll be on Talking Wonder Woman. That's out this week, right? Like, we're going to record that right after.
No.
And then watch or listen to Geek Pulse Radio, like Manning said, because I was in the most recent episode talking about Wonder Woman, but also I had my question answered about how to style my hair. Definitely check that out. That was a good time.
I got to know the answer to that question. But thanks everybody for watching. My name was Ryan. Or it still is, I suppose. You can follow me on Twitter at armcana19. You can find me writing and editing on geeksgamers.com. You can find me writing and editing on schmoesno.com. And you can find me trolling around our group, mod-minning things. So that's going to be it for the night, guys. I hope you have a great Sunday, and thank you. See you next week.